should be, because every module is in Python, na?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. If recording will be, then it will be fine for me. So,
Okay, I've started it.
yes, yes.
So yeah. So just to begin with this, I hope all of you have a little idea of what Anuvaad as a product is. So for except Prashant, who has not worked on Anuvaad so far. So I'll just brief what Anuvaad and how Tokenizer fits in that sense into this Anuvaad, right? So Anuvaad, as as a solution, it is used to translate documents from English to Indic languages and Indic to Indic to English as well. So in this we have a couple of microservices arranged in a pipeline kind of manner, which we do it by workflow codes. When we say workflow codes, we have certain codes for certain microservices, which we align them in a pipeline to use it for our use cases. So these microservices are file uploader, file converter, tokenizer, block merger, and translator, that matter. So with these, we have in between these microservices, we have something called Kafka for communication between them, and we use storage. I mean DBs like Redis, MongoDB, and Elastic for storing the logs. So in all these services, what is the role of tokenizer is what we are going to talk about today, and how a tokenizer is built and how it can be taken forward, making it more powerful in boosting this Anuvaad to an at more advanced level going forward. So tokenizer is a microservice that, as the name suggests, it tokenizes paragraphs that is being sent to it from the prior services. When I say prior services, they are block merger, which sends paragraphs as an input to this service. So tokenizer receives these paragraphs as an input, and then based on logic we set, uh, based on the language we choose to tokenize it by, we break those paragraphs into tokens. Here tokens mean sentences. So the output that comes out of tokenizer are uh, tokens as a sentence, which are fed into the translator module, which uses NMT's translating capabilities to give the appropriate translation for the sentence that is fed into the system. So this is something brief about what tokenizer does. So I'll just go through the service with the code so that we have an idea where uh, all the logic is placed and how the service is being used with all other services along in another. So is that a good plan to go with, Ratan?
Sure, man.
So I'm just sharing the screen right away. So I hope the screen is visible now.
Yes.
Okay. So so we have something called tokenizer feature as a branch in GitHub. So you'll find the code related to the tokenizer service in that particular branch. So we have basically divided tokenizer into two separate uh, branches, to be clear, because we are using both tokenizer translation pipeline as well and in digitization pipeline. So when I say translation pipeline, we use this pipeline for translating documents by uploading a docx file into the system. So which is mostly used by all the high courts and supreme courts as of now. So compared to digitization, uh, translation is being used more. So even though the logic uh, in both the cases is same, it's the same tokenizer that being used there and here as well. But to maintain that uh, what you call the subject to priority, right? So we are more advanced into the translation because the more feedbacks we receive is from translation side. So we work on that part, that part of the code more. So we are just maintaining this. Uh, we have been maintaining this code separately for both distillation and translation. Uh, code and the logic is same, but I would say that this part of code is more updated than that in the distillation. Based on the feedbacks and issues that we come up, that's when we are, going and making some changes in that part of tokenizer that we are using currently in distillation. But as of now, distillation we have no issues. Uh, with any incoming feedbacks or any issues, we are going to try to correct it there. So for that we have maintained a different branch called OCR. So this OCR sentence OCR is the one under which we have the tokenizer code where we use this separately for this session. We'll build it from this brand, this part of the code, and for translation we build it from this particular protocol sentence. So this code is written in Python uh, uh, with routes and all. As you know, like if you are aware of blueprints and controllers, I'm more comfortable with controllers compared to blueprints. But this code was written when it was given to me in blueprint. So it's still we are maintaining the same format here. So when it comes to tokenizer, we tokenize things based on what language the input is, right? So for that we are maintaining scripts in place called repositories. So where we have uh, each script for individual language. As you can see, we have Bengali uh, tokenizer scripts separately. We have English, we have Hindi, we have something called a general tokenizer. We are using it whenever the case is very general, and we have something called as uh, Kannada sentence. As I said, we have different scripts for different languages. That's the reason you don't see some of the languages here. Either they are uh, of the same script of Hindi. If the language is of the same script of what Hindi is using, I mean the Devanagari script, where we are reusing the same script that we're using for Hindi instead of writing another script. Because when the script is same, uh, we are we are retaining the same script as we are using for Hindi, and we are using the same thing. So it's same for Bengali also. In some cases, in Manipuri language and all, we are using the same Bengali script. So we are using the same script for those languages as well. So we currently are working. We are supposed to work on the scripts which are none which are different from all the scripts that have been using so far. To mention few, we have Sindhi, Urdu, Kashmiri, and few others, which are mostly into the Indo-Arabic Persian kind of scripts. So, and this part, so I'll just start from the services so that we get to visit individual scripts based on the main logic that we use. So 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 this is the service script that we usually like start with when we start a tokenizer as a service, in our whole this microservice architecture. So as you can see, I've imported all these scripts in this file so that it's easily accessible based on the language code that we uh, pass on. Like when we upload, if you have seen the UI of just a second, if you see the UI of mm, yeah, Ratan, can you just share your screen for a second, because I have to validate this. I have no,
Sure.
I don't have a cell phone.
Mm,
It's
no
for
problem.
upload.
You can use my email ID also. It's fine.
Okay. Can you just
Yeah.
put it on chat?
Sure. Sharing it. Okay, I'm just sharing it in the chat window here. I'll just share the password 1 minute. The password is the same. Welcome at 123 with capital W.
Okay. If you wish to hash it and send, I can decrypt it. Welcome at the rate 123, right?
Yes.
W is not caps, is it?
Let me cross check. It should be.
Many both of them are showing wrong.
Hold on. I might have.
Is it Gmail or is it Tarento?
No, it has to be Gmail alone. So I'm just okay, I'm just cross checking it. Oh, I'm sorry. Currently I've changed it. I'm sending the password here. I'll just update it afterwards. I've just sent it here for reference.
Can you just send me the OTP as well? Or you can just
Yes,
read it out.
sure. It's 063440.
Yeah. So OTP, the man who was behind this OTP thing is Dheeraj, I believe. Right, Dheeraj?
Kind of.
So yeah, when we go to the translation pipeline, when we try to when you try to trigger any translation job, we go and select source language and target language, right? So based on the source language that we select here, we that source language is being passed on to the following services so that they can work. They can be, the appropriate scripts can be taken, and the service can do what it has to do. So based on the language that is passed on from the file uploader, so we tend to see which is the text locally. When we see this text locally, this is basically the source language that we select for a particular document. So when this function is triggered, so it will see which language the source script is of, based on if the local is en. yeah, the Anuvaad English tokenizer class is being will be called, uh, and in that we have a function called tokenizer. We'll come back to that function you know, in detail when we enter to see individual scripts. So um, yeah, based on the text locally selected, we are calling a particular class that it belongs to that particular language, and based on the class, we call the function tokenize. And this paragraph is a is a parameter that we pass in for a tokenized function. So this paragraph will have the input tokenization which we receive from block merger. So block merger, in a nutshell, it's a service which captures different blocks in the document as a paragraph. So these blocks are fed into the tokenization service as a paragraph, and tokenized service as an individual service, it will try to find all the what do you call, mm, uh, the ending logics that we have, right? Wherever the sentence ends, based on the logics and based on the language we select, it'll try to tokenize and send it to the further modules. So how these services are aligned is based on how what workflow code which is managed by workflow manager. So as you can see here, for text locally EN, it is selecting English tokenizer class. For text locally Hindi, or if it's Marathi, uh, or if it's GOM, it's Konkani. GOM is Konkani's code, and BRX is Bodu, and there's something called Sindhi Devanagari script, and there's something called Dogri, which we have all the language codes. If you go through our GitHub, you'll find this language codes as well there. And we have Kashmiri Devanagari, we have Maithili, we have Sanskrit. So all these scripts are based on Devanagari scripts. So we are using the same script for that, like fitting the same language in the same logic. So a tokenizer text is a variable that we are creating as that's a list where all these paragraphs after tokenization, I mean the tokens are appended into this list, and this list further can be passed on into the further modules that we come across after tokenization service. So this is I'm returning the tokenized text, and these are certain responses that we get as out for the output files. So when I say I'm getting paragraph input from block merger, and this paragraph input is being tokenized and fed into the further services, uh, I mean that these inputs are coming as a JSON. We in every module that we have in Anuvaad, we have these JSON files which are passed down from service to service. So based on the parameters that we have in JSON, we are reading it, and then we are we are doing tokenization or block merger thing or translation based on the parameters that we receive through this JSON file. So these are the response functions that we have written for tokenization, and so these are all the related functions which we use as as an add-on to all these uh, logics that we have written for an individual script. So these are the functions which we use for removing if we have more spaces in paragraphs that we receive, or we have this logic called uh, in English specifically, we have dot, which will tell us that this sentence is ending there. So in some cases, what happens is like we receive a sentence where this dot appears right after few spaces. I mean, like after a space, after a few spaces. So in that case, we are replacing that space and a dot by dot and a space, to just make sure that we are not missing out on a sentence ending. So because we have seen this in couple of cases, so after that only we have modified this logic with this specific thing in the script. So, and we have some logic to, uh, if we get a paragraph which is incomplete, what we do in that case. So based on the parameters such as page width, page height, we're going to come to a conclusion, and not, at least not to the best of the conclusion, but to minimize the error. So we see if this can be considered as the ending of this particular paragraph or not. So this logic is being for that. Uh, so we have something called valid paragraph to validate if this particular block that we are saying is a valid paragraph, or is it a table, footer, and header. In that case, we are not tokenizing. If it's a footer, header, or table, uh, it goes through another process. So in that case, this function is being used, and as I said. As I said earlier, which group link is talking about? Sorry for just a second. Uh, we're connected, right? Can anyone confirm?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So far it's you're able to follow it, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, so I'll just quickly get into one of the individual script for language. So where the main logic, which is particular to the language that we choose in for tokenization. So to start with, I'll just go through English sentence tokenizer. So in this particular tokenizer, we have certain variables set prior to tokenization. As you can see, we have something called as abbreviations with pattern. We have abbreviations with space. We have abbreviations without space, and there are general patterns which are kept empty as of now, which are handled in other way by as like I will see as we go through the script, this particular script. So what we like basically do here is, so in some cases we have in some particular sentences or paragraphs we have something called abbreviations, right? We have to be very um, start with very basic thing. We have something called as Mr. and versus, Mrs. and we have rupees, and we have some abbreviations related to particular to judicial documents. So we have certain abbreviations. So we can't we have to skip these things while tokenization, because what happens is like if you don't skip this, we we'll get a token which ends here like a W. It sees like tokenizer will not know if this is abbreviation or if this is a complete sentence, right? So we have added all those possible abbreviations in this particular list. So in what happens is like when you pass this text, so this will go through. So this list will be called, and it will see if that particular input text has any of these abbreviations in it, right? So this is based on regex pattern. I am right. I write it as a pattern here, and then I'll write it what it should be replaced with later. So this should fall in the same pattern, like if I'm adding in future, if I'm adding something called uh, something called XYZ, if it's XYZ, X dot Y dot Z, then you have to add it in the pattern, and then add it here as well in the same, no, it should fall in the same, what you call, uh, location, as in like if it's at the zeroth location, the same, or the pattern, if the pattern is at the zeroth location, and then the particular token that should be replaced with should be at the same location, right? So I hope I'm clear about this. Okay. So yeah, so you, as you can see here, I am I'm passing this text for this function called tokenize, where it will go through all these no, particular functions, wherein it serializes with abbreviations. When this function is called, in this function, uh, we'll see what all the general patterns are there. We'll see if the how you know try to serialize and deserialize the patterns so that you can retain the same pattern. So you return the text, and then you, as I said, you have right, you have certain things called add space after sentence, and right, you, otherwise you can't tokenize it properly, where two sentences will merge, and in between you will have these uh, sentence end characters. So these are the characters where we are we are mostly focusing to end the sentence. So these are the uh, so characters which we generally don't use in English scripts, but mm, one second, Ratan, there's some other call. Just reply to this message and see if it's not a priority one. Sorry.
No
So yes,
worries, dude.
so yeah, okay. So as I was just telling, these are the characters that we generally don't come across in English scripts. We see them as we see these as dandas. If you have observed English Hindi scripts, so where we use these as sentence end characters. So we have added this list. So I have just uh, taken the same list here, but yeah, to make you guys understand, I'm just telling this. So these are different kind of nandas we come across in the scripts. Initially we were only we were coming across only this particular character which we see at the end of the list, and then later in some scripts we observed these patterns being different, a bit different. So we have used them as well. And so in some cases we are using something called as end text. If you see this part, so where we have no particular Unicode for certain things, so we try to, like, when I started working, so me and Abhilash had decided on these patterns. So you come across these patterns, and these patterns are just to serialize and deserialize later. So we give a particular pattern by this name, uh, and some other patterns by this name, and then we replace. If I have to show it here, I'll just show it where we're exactly using those patterns. So those patterns are basically like you see this, right? So these are the just the patterns that we are trying to serialize and deserialize. In the same way, we have used that end C and A as well. Uh, C. One second. Yeah, you see here we are using this pattern. So we had stored them in this particular file, like how we are serializing and deserializing based on the pattern. So you don't have to like worry about these patterns. This like we can use any kind of a string pattern to just serialize and deserialize. So it's not that we have used end particularly because since we are working around the end character, like sentence end characters, we had used this as end. So yeah, that's about like the bit, the functions where we are running through the input. So play those who to get the proper tokenized output. This was for English. So if I have to talk about index script, so we have these Unicodes in this and at this particular URL where we have the range of characters and their Unicodes listed and what character specifies to Unicode. So based on the Unicodes, we have certain patterns that fall under these particular characters. So we have used uh, as I said earlier in that English script, we have abbreviation list as well here, which we are using as a variable here, and we have something called as uh, text abbreviation pattern, where we are using these particular Unicodes in this list. So when any character of certain Unicode uh, that we encounter while tokenizing, it will not skip those characters. It will consider all those characters based on Unicodes. So we have so like to mention, we have something called pipe characters, and we have uh, we have Unicode for dot as well. We have Unicodes for all the characters that we see that in all the punctuations that we generally see in any of the language, be it English or any of the Indic languages. So we are supposed to deal them because computer doesn't understand those characters. We have to deal them with the Unicodes. So these Unicodes we have just written them down as a commented block of this particular code, so that you'll understand what is the range of the Unicode that this particular language that we are working with falls under, right? So so this script also goes by the same logic, except for the Unicodes and abbreviations that we have. So it almost follows the same type of pattern, how we serialize dates. So we have a logic where you find the patterns of how the dates formats are placed in a particular input sentence, and based on them we try to keep them as the original sentence has it. We try to serialize it, and then put it back to the particular text, so that we don't miss out any dates based on, if it's not serialized, it will miss out the original pattern, the pattern of the date that was following being followed in the original source sentence. So this is the function. When I say serialize, this is something that serializes, and this is something that deserializes. When I say these particular strings that I'm using to deserialize, I'm using the same particular strings here as well, so that the same uh, string that we are retaining while serializing is being brought back as it is while we deserialize it. So, so it's the same for time as well. Based on the pattern that time follows, we have this string that follows the time format, and we are serializing and deserializing. And we have something called serialized quotes with number. If we have numbers in quotes, mm, if a document or a particular sentence has any figures to mention as in numbers, we use this particular function, and we try to retain it by serializing and then deserializing. So everything is being returned to text, and that text is being uh, and is the one that we uh, we pass on to as a tokenized text, right? So as an output. So all when all these thing goes all these particular sentences in this sentence block goes through all this logic, and will have a final mm, list of tokens which can be passed on to the further modules. So uh, so for all the possible patterns that we might encounter, we have these many functions written with to serialize and deserialize. As you can see, we have uh, we recently, in the past few months, we came across uh, a problem wherein we had documents, and in that document we had like we had paragraphs which had recurring dots, uh, which is rare, but uh, we we got these issues very regular in recent times. So we came up with like I came up with this logic wherein if the dot is recurring, mm, no, for 3 times continuously, I'll try to serialize it with this pattern, and then later I'll replace it with these dots, so that the sentence doesn't break there. So what was happening is, when a particular paragraph that we receive at Tokenizer, if it has these kind of recurring dots, so instead of breaking it once, so for example, if the if the sentence is Anuvaad, suppose if the sentence is like Anuvaad is a translation tool and has recurring dots after that particular piece of sentence. So I expect uh, so Tarrant. So for example, we'll take this paragraph which has 2 sentences. The first sentence says that Taranto is working on uh, building Anuvaad, and the sentence ends there with a dot, and the next sentence starts like Anuvad is a translation tool, and uh, and it ends with all these recurring dots, and we have a sentence after this as well. Consider if we have sentence after this as well. So basically, I like we are expecting the ideal output to be of 3 different tokens. One is Taranto is building a tool called Anuvad, and Anuvad is a translation tool, and uh, some other sentence post uh, this this recurring dot. So in that case, what was happening is, instead of getting 3 different tokens, we were getting two tech tokens, as well as like tokens with all these dots. So these single dots were considered as one different token. So that's not ideal thing to get, right? So in when you try to open Anuvad tool, uh, if you go to the dashboard, so when you open this particular document, so you see right, you see left here, and then this Mahesh is the head of the family in the house, and then this left, and this is he left the house, right? So when you see these particular sentence cards, I was able to see the first two sentence in two different sentence blocks, and followed by the individual dots as individual sentence cards. So that's not something that we are expecting. So to clear that issue, we came up this particular uh, serializing dots. Uh, so this fixed that issue. Then like as in we encountered any of such issues, we try to come up with a logic. Now usually we write a function like this if it's a particular pattern that we can expect in our every other language as well. Even though this script is individually individually written for Hindi alone, uh, if we have functions written in this pattern, we can adapt the same thing if it we are encountering in some other language as well. Okay, the only reason we are maintaining these as a different scripts because some patterns which we observe in Hindi might not be same mm, in English or any other language, and also we have different Unicodes also. So that's the reason we're using these scripts as individual, uh, individual with respect to the individual languages that we have. So these are the core logic that we we work on for Tokenizer. Um, so yeah. So as I said, English is something we have already libraries. Uh, so many libraries that we can use like NLTK. Uh, Also, Indic NLP library also does uh, better work at tokenizing English, and as well as they had issues with Indic languages. Now I think they are also updating their script. While building the script, we are continuously tracking their library as well to as in to see where they have they are lagging, and we try to work on those areas as well. So we had also built a uh, library called Anuvaad Tokenizer. So which was the need of the hour then, when I think Ashwin is aware of this. Ashwin, am I right? Ashwin, if you're speaking, I'm not able to hear you.
Same here, Ashwin. We are not able to hear you.
You can put it. Yeah, yeah, better. So you are aware of this tokenizer thing, right? Anuva tokenizer library that we had discussed earlier. I think a year back or something. So yeah, so this was the library that we had built using the same scripts that we are using in Anuva. So this library, so I was not aware of how we build libraries and push them onto PyOrg. So I was not aware of this version. Now that I'm aware, I I see I see it as very bad. If someone looks at this library, they'll they'll get to know that this is done by someone very naive developer. So now that I know this version numbers, I want someone who is going to take this tokenizer service going forward, who is going to maintain this. I want to I want them to build this library separately with proper version numbers. So like if you're not aware of what this part of the version means and what these all different uh, places in this version mean. Ratan can help on that. Is that okay, Ratan?
That's absolutely sure.
Yeah. So this version thing, I recently understood when I was talking to Vishal a few months back when he was moving out of this project. He saw this library and he told me what these versions actually mean, like how to build, how to name them, right? So he was telling that this end part of the end portion of the version means as any bugs that we fix. So these numbers should be incremented based on the bugs that we fix, and these for these minor changes in the logic, and this is for a complete, very big change in the library. So that's how it should be. Uh, Now that it is not in a proper format, I want this to be taken care if you're like if you or any of you guys are building it in
Yeah,
future.
Abhi, sorry to interrupt on this, but if we were to update Anuvaad Tokenizer, the module that is available in, let's say, the library in this case, do
Hmm.
we need to use any credentials to update this, and
I,
which are
I
the
I'll
paths
share
exactly?
I,
Sure.
I'll share the email. We have an official account on PyOrg. I'll share you the credentials. I think I have it on my mail. Shiva had shared it earlier, so you can log into that thing, and I'll also share all the commands that we use to. I think we had discussed this once while building Anuvaad library also. Anuvaad
For
auditor.
auditor.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've shared the commands with you. If not, I'll share it again. It's the same process where you right we have a setup file where you run the wheels, and then the dist files are created, and those dist files like you can keep it keep it in your local as a separate folder, so that whenever you have any update in the script, you can update those scripts in that particular file block, and then you can run a setup file again, so that the new dist files are created, and accordingly it will be updated on this PyOrg website. Again, we can run few trials if you want on test or some other day.
Sure.
Because I had this a particular code block as a folder in my local earlier, but since we didn't use this particular library for a long time after it was created, somewhere in between this transition from Google thing to Outlook, I missed that folder actually. But nevertheless, we have this code in Git still. We can extract these individual scripts, and I'll before I completely hand over this service, I'll let you know how we are supposed to separate out these scripts and put it on as a library to the buyer. We can talk about that, right?
Sure, we can have that whenever feasible with you.
So with that being discussed, so as I said, we are building two things uh, to be very sure about are anything that we are updating in translation pipeline. We are building it from sentence uh, so part of the code, and anything that we are doing with the distillation pipeline, we are building it from sentence OCR part. Okay, it's same on the Git as well. You can check. So we are using tokenization feature as a branch for no, that as a feature branch. But like if you are aware of how we are following the protocols for deployment, I mean like which particular branch we are using for dev, and which particular branch we are using for no, for users, um, JOD. So you'll get to know once. And since if you are someone from Anuvaad, you'll know since you are already handling some services. But if you're not from Anuvaad, you'll understand once you start working on these modules. You'll like other teammates will help you how we are supposed to follow these deployment patterns. so yeah, this is all about tokenization. So I'll work on the documentation for the reference. So I'll share across the document as well. So Ratan will run another session tomorrow for the remaining models.
For sure, we can do that.
Glossary Explorer
Yep.
and DMU. And at the end, we can discuss on Anuvaad auditor as well, if required. I know
Sure.
like you're completely aware of Anuvaad auditor. Like only one recent change that has taken place in
Yeah, the
Anuvaad auditor.
Kafka thing. Yep.
That's the only major thing that has happened recently. So we can make sure we'll make sure that it's communicated to others as well.
Sure.
Whatever this auditor is all about and what changes we made and what made us to bring in that change.
Sure. I will also go through this by tomorrow, and if there are any queries on my end on tokenize, I'll just ask you by tomorrow in that case.
Sure. I might have missed things because we tend to miss when we can't. There's a chance that I might have missed few things, but anyway, like if you find any questions at any point of time, you can come to me. Even if I don't know at that particular point, I'll just go through it and I'll come back to you.
Thanks, man.
So all good. I think Pramod is very interested to take this forward.
Who was Pramod?
Pramod is
Right.
someone who is very keen interested in Tokenizer. Okay. With that said, like jokes apart, like we will stay connected and